when Venerable Children began Shantideva's text, she made this recommendation and advice that unless we remember the faults of self-centeredness, the self-centered thought, then this text is not going to make any sense to us at all, and our mind will just be screaming the whole time. And so she said, every time we sit down to read the text, reflect on it, meditate on it, we should first of all begin by thinking of the disadvantages of the self-centered thought. Well, in my experience now, I think it's probably best that I do this every morning before I start my day and not just wait for Shantideva to show up. And it's been fabulous doing the 4 establishments of mindfulness. I focused on feelings this past retreat, but I see how these teachings just knit with each other. So I'll give you a very simple example. And this talk is actually not about dogs, but I'm going to talk a lot about dogs, but it's not about the dogs. So down the road, there's 4 dogs, and 3 of them are absolutely huge. They're huge dogs. Every single one of them, each one weighs at least 120 pounds. Each one of them outweighs me. If they decided to do a dog pile, the 3 of them, this life would come to an end. It would be over. But when I see those dogs, 2 of them are kind of a blonde color. They're very attractive looking big dogs, and they're very friendly, and they run up. They have a very big bark. But I now know that I don't have to fear them, and that they're just very friendly and they're lovely to connect with. So, the minute I see the dogs as I'm walking down the road, pleasant feeling. And we connect with each other, and it's just a joyful time. There's a 4th dog down there. And yes, it's not very big. And the minute I saw this dog, I was on edge because as a child, I had some unfortunate run-ins with what I call a bulldog. I don't know if this dog is a bulldog or a boxer, maybe, what is it, boxer terrier? Is it? Anyway, it looks like a bulldog to me. So immediately, I think unpleasant feeling. And then, the tactile sensation, he just jumps up and he's got these very sharp little claws, and they, so the tactile sensation is these searing pinpoints of claws into your leg, and sometimes he bites me. And so I have an unpleasant feeling, and there's huge aversion in my mind. And it's never occurred to me that I should work on this mental state of aversion for this sentient being, because he just bugs me. In fact, he bugs me so much that I've actually curtailed my walking down the road, because I can't be bothered with it. And then this was ramped up recently in January. One of our kitties had a surgery, and this was the first day out after the cone was removed and all of that, and it was a beautiful day, and I'm taking the cat out in the leash for a walk, and there's no gate up yet, and I didn't know this dog was up here. And so the dog starts tearing after Upeka. Upeka weighs 12.5 pounds. I grab Upeka. He's just going crazy, and he's just, out of surgery, kind of. And I'm just furious at this dog. I have no warm, fuzzy feeling for this guy. And then I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, hoping someone in Ananda will hear me. Of course, no one hears me. And I make it to the door, and then someone opens the door and says, "Is everything okay?" So I have aversion for this sentient being. I haven't worked on it. So then the next day, and we called the owners. I actually didn't call the owner. I got Venerable Semke too. And I don't know. Anyway, so the very next day, it was an absolutely stunningly beautiful day. And I'm going for a walk. And who do I see up here again? The bulldog. And I'm really... Cooper? Scooper. Okay, we got 2 versions. Cooper. Okay, dear little Cooper showed up again. And I was really not happy with him. And so I clapped my hands and I said, "Go home." And he seemed to obey. So then I realized, so I was happy about that. And I forgot my gloves. So I was going back to Ananda to get my gloves. And who's at the back door? Cooper, the bulldog. So I put on my gloves and I said to him, "I'm going to walk you home. We're going now. Let's go." So he followed me. And then it's kind of miraculous, but all of a sudden, I see this dog tearing around in the snow. There was fresh snow. It was stunning, There was glistening in the air. It was just beautiful, and it was warm. It wasn't really cold. And this little dog was tearing around in the snow, making circles around me, but not charging me with his claws. And if dogs could smile, that dog was smiling and having a great time. And then it occurred to me that this little dog is lonely. His owners work 5 days a week, maybe more. They're not around. This little being is in a dog body with a dog brain. And I'm working with a brain that's not much better when I see him. And just seeing him have so much fun. And there were these shapes in the ditch that the snowplow made that looked like little creatures, and he would run up to them and do this and charge it and realize it wasn't anything, and then he'd come around and circle me and running as hard as he could, just having a great time. And this happened the whole way back down to his place. And so I could see that this little being that I have had such aversion for was giving me this great gift to see my self-centered thought, to see the aversion in full force, and to see that, I haven't even bothered to include him in my meditations about, all sentient beings except for you. But just to see what this dog is living with. And as Venerable and Shantideva tells us, look at the other person. Imagine what their situation is. We can get a lot just by looking at them. We know they want to be happy. We know they don't want to suffer. He was at one time in a human body. Many times. He was in the hell realms many times, probably a hungry ghost. And here he is, connecting with the monastics and getting these imprints. And so I started saying mantra to him. I haven't said mantra to him before, I can tell you that. And it was just so much fun to spend time with him. And in that little dog body, he doesn't have the capacity to buy an assault weapon. He doesn't have the capacity to be judgmental and critical. He doesn't have the capacity to call me bad names and insult me. He doesn't have the capacity to lie or cheat. He doesn't have the capacity to sue me. He doesn't have the capacity to blame me for anything, including ignoring him and having aversion for him. And he has so limited capacity to create merit. And then just looking at his way of connecting with us, jumping on us, that's his way of connection. Jumping up and biting us, he's showing affection. It's all he can do. And so, as I thought about this incident many times, I see that, it isn't actually a huge effort to start cherishing someone. I mean, there's some people that are bigger work than others, of course. Some people I'm not even going to mention names, but there's some people that challenge us more than others, and that's going to take a whole lot more work. But actually, it's not a whole lot of work to shift our view and to see someone, with, even if they're saying things to us that we can't stand, and maybe I can't do it in the moment yet, but to see that that's what they're dealing with in that moment. Something's going on for them. I have no idea what it is. And, give them some space. I'm talking to myself, have the mental space to look at someone with different, from different points of view. And there's always that option to do this with anyone. So winning the battle against the onslaught of the self-centered thought really brings happiness. It happens in moments in my case, and it brings joy. And that's far superior to Venerable Sultram's potato pancakes. Really, I'm sorry, Venerable Sultram, but it's far superior to that, and they're the best. And it's far superior to skiing in freshly fallen snow. And it's better than being right. And it's fun. It's the best heart medicine.